Gary Franchi on Liberty Report.
3, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks yet another timeless day here on the most epic time to be alive, here on planet Earth. We are still here in Las Vegas at the Counter-Cancel Tour with Mindy Robinson and Anomaly. Sitting right next to us is a man who needs no introduction. He is someone who sits up there with all the legends, for he has and continues to be monumental in paving the way for all freedom lovers and independent journalists worldwide. He is a pioneer of alternative media, and his operation is admired and viewed by millions across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the maestro himself and host of the Next News Network, Gary Franchi.
Yes, that's right. Fellow liberators and patriots alike, welcome to Liberty Report. We are so honored to have Gary Franchi.
Absolutely.
And like we were just told, a pioneer you are of we are the news now. I'll tell you, when I saw you, you're the reason why Liberty Report is even Liberty Report. I was like, wow, look what he's doing. Look at the graphics. He's not even CNN or Fox. And it was such an inspiration, man. What gave you the inspiration to start on this journey?
You know, I was pissed off. Basically, I'm like, you know what? I don't like what I see happening on the news. I don't like what they're telling me. They're lying to me. I'm like, I'm going to just do it better. And
you did.
You know, if you look at some of my earliest stuff, it is horrendous. I mean, the lighting is harsh, and, you know, my suits don't fit. They still don't fit. But, you know, the audio, I mean, everything was like, I've learned on camera for years and years and years, and it was really just started because I didn't like what I saw, the message being presented by the mainstream media, and I set out to change that.
Wow. So really, it was just what was in your heart. You saw some truth. You knew you could get out these answers. It didn't matter about what you knew, the technology part of it. You just started speaking.
Yeah. I mean, before I even had like an actual broadcast channel or a news channel, I was out in the street with a bullhorn passing out DVDs. You know, like, you know, we were going to marathons in Chicago, we had DVD replication towers, and we were just like cranking out DVDs with compilations and passing them out to people on the streets.
I love that. I used to do that myself.
Yeah.
The documentary, I don't know if you remember, back in the day, Thrive. And when that came out, I was working at a restaurant, and I burned 100 DVDs and passed them out to everyone. And it was like, you got to watch this. Yeah. And so I totally could relate to that. And, you know, we're building the plane as we fly it, and that's something that, you know, we all have experienced, and it never ends.
Yeah, it's about getting the message out
by
any means necessary. And, you know, just through the years and technology and advancement, we've just harnessed every piece of technology. Like I told you before we started this, you know, if you look at my closet at home, there's antiquated technology from old school USB video capture cards to, you know, remote microphones and adapters and like things that just like old cameras. Like,
right.
If that stuff should be in a museum someday because it's such old technology being used to break the narratives that we've been spoon-fed all these years.
And it tells a story, though. That closet tells a story, you know, and it's a testament to how many years you've been in this fight. And actually, like I said in the intro, you're a pioneer of alternative media. How long has it been when you kind of got your first camera and did your first show? What was that experience like?
Well, my first YouTube channel was actually like right after YouTube started. And what's really interesting is I had a website called lonelantern.org many years ago. My first website, started it in like May of 2005, okay? And I was downloading documentary films through torrents, all these different documentary films that were like, you know, all these different conspiracy things and stuff about the Federal Reserve and yada yada. And I was hosting it on this website. This is before YouTube was like 2 months before YouTube was even a thing.
Wow.
And people were coming to our site, and they were watching this stuff for free. They didn't have to download it. They didn't have to search for it. It was right there, a huge library. And that really put us on the map. And then, you know, over time, we just started to reach out and meet new people. Like we met Aaron Russo.
Oh, whoa. You met Aaron Russo?
Aaron Russo, yeah.
What a legend.
He was my mentor, in fact. And I worked with him on the DVD distribution, grassroots distribution for his film America, Freedom, and Fascism. So,
wow.
So Aaron Russo, I mean, like, what really changed my life was,
me too.
You know, I went through a whole Alex Jones like reprogramming thing with all like the Terror Storm and all the 9/11 films that he was making. Helped me understand like what false flags were and what Gulf of Tonkin and all these different things that Americans have experienced over time. And then I met Aaron Russo in St. Charles, Illinois. He was showing his movie, America, Freedom to Fascism. And when I saw Russo's movie, and he was there doing a Q&A, I saw his movie. I mean, it brought a tear to my eye because here we are, we're hearing and seeing this message being presented, but it didn't sound like crazy fanatical message. It was just a clear-cut documentary film.
Yeah.
And that put me on a path. And when Russo passed away, he gave me his website. He gave me his email list and said, keep going, keep pushing the message out. Wow. And that's what we did. So we kept building on the foundation that Russo had given us. And then we went into the Ron Paul revolution. Russo stood behind Ron Paul, 2008. So we had a huge grassroots movement standing behind Ron Paul. And then Aaron eventually, like I said, he passed away. Ron Paul didn't get the nomination in 2008. And then we continued pushing on through 2012. In 2012, we started a super PAC. So we went to the next level as like we went from grassroots activists to like full-blown, we're going to file federal election commission reports. And I mean, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Right.
We had no idea. and I was talking to Alex. This is the best part. I was talking to Alex Jones, and I tell him, I said, Alex, what? He said, what are you doing, Franchi? What are you up to? Well,
Nice.
And I said, well, Alex, we started a super PAC. We're supporting Congressman Paul. Oh, Franchi, you're crazy. You're swimming with sharks in the middle of the Atlantic, and the Titanic's bearing down on you, and there's icebergs all around. Franchi, you're crazy.
That's a great impersonation.
But that's what he said to me, and I was like, uh-oh, what did I do? Alex is warning me, like I shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
And then of course we miss our FEC filing date, and then the next day I'm on the front page of MSN.com. Like when you open up back in the day, you open up your Hotmail account and like.
Yeah, on the browser there, yeah.
Force-fed MSN, right?
Right.
So, like, this guy, he writes a story. 9/11 truther runs super PAC for Ron Paul. I'm like, oh, God.
And so it begins.
So it begins.
Who is it? Was it Media Matters? They do a lot of those hit pieces, right?
Oh, Media Matters came after me. Well, they'd been after me for a little while. Back then when I interviewed, like, David Keene when he was part of the NRA. And especially back in the early COVID, we were putting out videos and talking about, giving America a second opinion,
right?
On the health situation. So they didn't like that very much.
Well, if I could, before we go off of Aaron Russo, for any of my viewers, please look up Aaron Russo. Anytime I meet someone and I could remember, have you heard of Aaron Russo? And I'll go back and show a video of my favorite one is when he was talking about the taxes, where he interviewed the IRS guy.
Oh, yeah. Aaron said that movie would not have been made if that interview didn't take place. So the story behind that, interestingly enough, is that Aaron's making this movie about the IRS and the Federal Reserve. And with Aaron's credentials, being a Hollywood producer, working with Bette Midler's manager, producing The Rose, he made Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. So he wasn't a slouch. He had name recognition in the community. So when he goes to a former IRS commissioner in his law firm in D.C. and says, oh, Aaron Russo wants to interview you about the IRS tax code. And he's like, oh, this guy's like, you're a Hollywood producer. Right? Let's talk to this guy.
Ego
right?
got him, right?
His ego. So he sits down and he goes, can you tell me where the law is? Where's the law? Can you tell me where the law is? So and he goes, and the commissioner's like, and then he goes, and he says, the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has so ruled, Russo says, that this, the IRS doesn't have this, blah, 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 blah. I can't remember it verbatim. But then the IRS commissioner goes, this interview's done, because he's trying to say the IRS is above the Supreme Court, which it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's priceless.
Epic. Priceless. It's like one of my favorite things I've seen in my lifetime. And I try to show anybody when I get the chance. So what an honor it is that you knew that man, because that's someone, I think, when we talk about being red-pilled in this community, waking up, him and Alex Jones, definitely during that time when I was watching that video and him talking about the caves and, like that kind of stuff.
Oh, here's some more stuff that never is talked about. But so I managed all the websites, and there were domains that were registered that were never used, and one of them was Russo Jones 2008. So like they were like there was at least somebody was thinking about having an Aaron Russo, Alex Jones presidential ticket.
Chills.
Wow.
Could you imagine if that happened?
Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
Like that was like a legit thing that was being talked about in the background.
Amazing, amazing
Very
stuff.
cool.
Well, very cool. So, hey, I just went in here. We're here in Las Vegas. We're at this cancel culture event, and this is something that people like us that speak the truth have had a major problem with. He had the Matrix report that was a very large channel that just got tore down, and thankful to have him co-hosting on Liberty Report. But you talked about some ways to get around it. So many different ways. Are you still on YouTube?
Yeah, we're on YouTube, 2.15 million subscribers. We generate about 500,000 to 1 million views every 48 hours. We put out about 20 videos a day, and we have multiple hosts and anchors. We now have a team of writers, collecting news, creating original content, and pushing back against the narratives that the mainstream press has been pushing out on us.
So how do you stay successful in getting the truth out with getting around this type of censorship? Do you put a certain video over here?
We have to play by the rules. We play by the rules. I very closely look at the terms of service, the community guidelines, what you can and cannot say. I have a channel manager and a multi-channel network who advises me when things are changing and when terms are changing, so I can make modifications ahead of time.
Smart.
And of course I monitor what the left is, what their current hate target is.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, I'll monitor different YouTube or Twitter feeds where I know these people are bragging about what they're saying, who they're going to go after next, and I say, okay, well,
right.
They don't like that. I know YouTube likes to listen to this guy, so let's just pull this content.
And that's what's always important, to monitor the enemy, right? So you kind of
brag about it.
You see through the narrative, and then you know how to go around that to your audience.
Yeah. So we make sure we abide by terms of service. Look, it's YouTube's game. It's YouTube's sandbox, and they're letting us play with it.
Right.
And I'm thankful and grateful that YouTube has allowed me to have a platform to raise a family, to present a message. Right. I may not always agree with their decision and direction on how they manage things. At the end of the day, I have to play by their rules, and I do.
And you do it in such a way where if someone comes across your channel on YouTube, they don't know, number one, that it's YouTube, and they think it's like some news station they never heard of on cable television. Yeah. And that's one of kind of the unique things about your show. It looks like a very legit mainstream sort of at least the interface, the aesthetics of it looks like a mainstream cable news program. But we're talking about real news and the alternative media.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to project a visual that was familiar for the American people. I'm a news junkie, so if I'm watching Fox or CNN or MSNBC all day, I'm being bombarded with the same visuals that everyone else in America is. And how do we make our visuals look the same way? Okay, right. Double box this, have a swipe sound, you get a lower third graphic, you get some motion stuff behind it, you get some clips and things.
It's a formula.
It's a very basic formula.
Yeah.
So we're just following the standard formula that everyone's been following. And like I said, if you go back to my earliest stuff, go back to look up Reality Report 1. If you can find it, you might be able to find it on an old blip.tv channel or something. You will die laughing.
Reality Report 1. I'll be looking for it.
Reality Report 1 or freedom.tv was another domain we were working on. Freedom Media Project were some other things we flew under. Those were the brands, and the Freedom Media Project birthed the Reality Report on Freedom TV, and we just kept going and going. But yeah, so we just kept perfecting it over time. And I have a great producer. I mean, I can do anything without my producer Brian. He's a real tech nerd like me, so he's always on top of dude, did you know what vMix could do today? They just did an upgrade, man, and now we can add a new layer of DVD. I'm like, okay, man, all right, I get it. Just make it look cool, all right? But Brian couldn't do anything without Brian or any of my other team.
Yeah,
Caitlin and Aldo and all the team. Everyone makes it work.
It's very cool. So people can find you on YouTube. I think most people already follow you on YouTube. It's quite the channel that you have. Is there any other places? Do you do your own social media, or do you have like a team that works on social media?
I do have a couple guys that work on our social media. But you can also run Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey. We're on all the Truth Social, Parler, Minds, Getter, Gab. I mean, we're like basically every place you can be.
So let me ask you this, because I'm like, man, we could post our stuff on Rumble, in full, but we can't post it in full on YouTube. Do you think it's a smart idea to like just do a fraction of the video that's safe for YouTube and then direct people over to Rumble, or just the same content everywhere?
So that's a really good question, because I remember when there were some terms that came out on YouTube that basically revolved around, I think what the intention was, real world activities. So this was when Jake Paul was out in Japan, and he was making a fool of himself.
The forest.
And the forest.
Right.
The forest video was one point. But there was some other activity he was doing that was like really culturally insensitive, like wearing like a rice hat or something, and like, doing like some stuff, just being a jerk.
Right.
And I think they'd canceled his or demonetized his channel at that point. So YouTube made a terms of service modification that said anything you do off platform could also be held against you. Wow. So, and I remember reading it very clearly. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So one thing that YouTube doesn't like is when you link off site.
Okay.
They want to keep all the traffic in-house circulating through their ecosystem.
Right.
The more you can continue to feed into their ecosystem, the more they love you. So if you are suddenly saying, hey, watch this video here, but then go to Rumble and watch it, the rest of it, the chances of you getting fewer views on that video, because they can track the amount of people clicking out of it, they can track that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they can track that number out, and they say, well, there's a high percentage of clickouts off platform, so we're not going to suggest this video anymore.
That makes sense. I remember Twitter was doing that as well when you were when other platforms coming out like Hive Blog and such. They would ban or totally remove the tweet because you're promoting another platform. What you said about the terms of service, saying you could be kicked off for something you do in real life, that reminds me of when that happened for the first time, and it was with Alex Jones. And if you remember, he was in the Senate or he was in the Capitol, or it was after a Senate hearing, and he was confronting with all the other reporters.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was Oliver from CNN. That's right, from CNN. And they kicked him off for his actions that he did in real life, and that was that had never happened ever. And that
are you talking about Twitter or YouTube? It was Twitter.
It was Twitter,
because he was there going to confront Dorsey.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he got into Darcy's face because Darcy was, had it in for him as well. So, so we're talking about a real life situation,
right?
So, for example, you go out and you rob a grocery store and you kill somebody, okay, they'll delete your channel. It's just like you see, whenever you see like these shooters or something that happens, right?
Right.
All of a sudden, their social media disappears.
Yeah.
Now, why does that happen? Is it because there's somebody going in there, we don't want you to see what he said? Or is it because they're trying to make sure you don't see what he says? Or, can you see what I'm saying? Or is it because he did something illegal and they don't want to glorify this individual's life?
Yeah.
See, there's so many variables.
Yes, and I'm someone that appreciates all angles. That's what we do here, and it takes a special kind of discernment, and you have it, where you look at all possible angles at all times. Yes,
you have to.
That's something, and it's that's I'm very passionate about that, because there's limitless possibilities, and really the truth of the matter is there's so much going on unbeknownst to all of us. It's truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, and that's why there's people out there speaking truth, and the truth is a threat. Truth is treason in the empire of lies.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now. And it's amazing to witness the mainstream press, the outright lying they've been doing, and then they call people like us who ask a simple question, they call us a conspiracy theorist, or they try to get us deplatformed or whatever for simply questioning their narrative, and then it comes out they've been lying to us the whole time, and then they get caught in it.
Well, it's demoralizing. It like brings your morale down.
Oh, absolutely.
And, like I told you before we started, like, hey man, I don't have a big channel. And I would say if I started my channel a couple years ago, I'd have a huge channel. But I came in at a time where it was just I was talking about things they didn't want to hear. So I just
you know what? I'll tell you this. People have asked me, should I start a YouTube channel now? I said, well, what kind of YouTube channel?
Right, exactly.
I said, right now, I wouldn't get in the news space if for any reason, because of the way that they don't like us presenting the content. Because we're presenting our own news and our own opinion, news talk, So
Right.
You just have to be careful.
Countering the narrative, yeah.
Definitely have to. We don't like to follow the Mockingbird media or that kind of stuff, but we've come up with a solution, and I know your time's valuable, and maybe we could end off talking about this situation that we are currently talking about every single person that we interview, and that's something we feel very strongly about, and we have a candidate running for Congress that is totally backing it, 100% running his platform on it, and that would be the Internet Bill of Rights. It's something that we want to extend our Bill of Rights to the Internet. There's a couple different tenets, like our data, how valuable our data is it's trillions of dollars it's worth. We're not getting a dime from it, but they're making tons of money without our permission.
Yeah, they're selling us.
Our censorship. Like you said, we don't have a public square. When someone could get arrested for speaking online, but the same thing that they would say on a bullhorn on the corner, they're protected under freedom of speech, is not the case. And Marcus,
that's the public utility.
A public utility.
That's the public utility argument that I think is valuable.
And that's what we want to make these social media platforms as a public utility. They can't. Your phone company's not going to shut off you when you're in the middle of a phone call talking about how you don't like your politics. You shouldn't be able to have your media shut off because the platform you're on doesn't like your politics. Many people ran their campaign and won off of social media, and now all of a sudden people can't use it anymore. You want to touch on that, Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a public utility. These companies that are public utilities are allowed to run at monopoly scale because they don't cut off your service. And in 2022, you can't run a business without the internet. You can't run a business without social media. So it should be classified as a public utility.
Yeah, the internet itself, because everything is so reliant. You can't go to the grocery store even like you walk into the Starbucks over here, and they've got the swiper. It's like a square swiper, and that's even Dorsey owns Square.
Exactly.
But the point is, it's like the internet is required for that to function.
Right. It's everywhere.
Just like electricity is required to make that light work.
Exactly.
But then you have the question of the variable of what's the software required to run that. So if it's a free speech situation, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, these top three, yes, they're private companies. They are providing a platform for voice or messaging or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you transform that software program into a public utility while still protecting that corporate entity in itself? That's something that has to be determined.
These are the questions that we have, and we found a solution. We're hoping to touch great minds like yours that can reach people and maybe ask these questions, because we feel just like in 1775, those people were like, "Hey, our rights are being a little violated. We need to figure out a way where we could have these things protected." And what we're seeing online, especially,
they started a revolution and they went after the crown, and, a little different back then.
But if you look at it, hey, we're being violated. We're a different time frame. We're not going to act the same way, but we need the same type of protections on the internet because it's a wild, wild west right now. Our president got taken off of the internet. We couldn't hear from him. That's crazy, insane.
Yeah. Right.
So
the Ayatollah's cool though. He can be on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy world we're living in. All we ask is that maybe you look into it sometime.
No, I heard about it, and I'd like to see it in specifically, like, what is it, 10 points? Like the Bill of Rights is 10 points?
There's kind of different layers to it, but it's based around the three tenets. As Chadwick said, the right to data privacy, to your own privacy, getting compensated for that, censorship.
Isn't Europe doing something right now? They have like a huge data privacy aspect. Would there be elements of that?
Well, there's also protections that want to be in there, like to protect against social credit scores, like what they're doing in China, and also the brain interfacing technology that's coming out and AI advancing. They're developing technology.
That's all Elon with the brain interface.
Right, Elon's a part of it, and obviously,
that guy's wild. I don't mean to go on a tangent.
Oh no, yeah,
definitely wild.
We should have a whole show on Elon.
He's going after Twitter. He's getting Twitter, and now he's got brain interfaces. He's going to Mars. He's got electric cars. He's got what this guy? What's next for this guy?
It's
download your soul.
Well,
hey, like Yuval Harari, he wants to make all of us hackable machines.
Oh God!
Yeah, and the thing is, when you say download your soul, there's people with bad intentions who actually want to do things like this, and it may sound crazy, like uploading your consciousness or brain interfacing technology. The point is we need to protect against these things because they're coming at us. Regardless, whether we acknowledge it or not, it's coming at us. So that's a huge element as well that the Internet Bill of Rights is meant to protect against.
Well, the problem that we have in general is that we sit back, let the bad guys get control of whatever situation ahead a little bit. They're like, oh, whoa. Now we need to do something. If we see what's coming at us, a lot of kids, younger people, because they see like the automation where it's, factories are totally ran by robots. You look on YouTube and you see people walking robot dogs. It's real, And then you have someone like Elon Musk saying, "Hey, we're going to put chips in your head." Yuval Harari, everyone that listens that's powerful over the world, right, listens to this guy Yuval Harari, and he's telling everyone, "Let's make them hackable machines." Now we know this technology is coming. So why don't we get ahead of it? We be the ones in control of it and not let them get in control of it first. And that's all we're saying. We see it coming. We don't have long.
No, I think it's great. I think we need to have as many safeguards in place. I'm sort of a cynic when it comes to like the political structure and like these guys want power, man.
True.
They want power by any means necessary. They're
power.
arrogant and like they're drunk on it and they want it. Like, we're not going to give these guys the Bill of Rights for the internet. We're going to continue to control them forever. Like that's what's happening.
Yeah, that is what's happening. Yeah, absolutely. So,
but by raising awareness, a show like this, people need to know that there are options, and of course, again, getting the message out, as we have been doing for years and years, and you guys are doing now. That's what's so critical because it's part of the awakening process. And I think it's wild when people start using this term woke. I'm like, man, what the hell? What? We've been waking people up since 2005.
It's trendy now.
But now it's like woke. I'm like, wait a minute.
Man,
kind of woke.
To think I'm sitting with the person that was around the team that woke me up. You know what I mean? Back then, you said you've been waking people up since 2005. That's around the time when I was being waken up listening to Alex Jones, listening to Aaron Russo, and you were right there with it, man.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yes, definitely.
We hope to build a
pleasure,
relationship with
absolutely.
you.
To have you on the show.
Yeah,
pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey, you take care. This has been Liberty Report. This is the man we're so honored to have. Go check out Forbidden Truth Podcast. We're there at the Capitol in Arizona every single Saturday. Hey, we'll see you guys next time. God bless.